one child to be shot at school. We will not allow one more teacher to make a choice to jump in front of a firing assault rifle to save the lives of students. We cannot allow one more family to wait for a call or text that never comes. Our schools are unsafe. Our children and teachers are dying. We must make it our top priority to save these lives. March for Our Lives is created by, inspired by, and led by students across the country who will no longer risk their lives waiting for someone else to take action to stop the epidemic of mass school shootings that has become all too familiar. In the tragic wake of the 17 brutal lives cut short in Florida, politicians are telling us that now is not the time to talk about guns. March for Our Lives believes the time is now. On March 24th, today, the kids and families of March for Our Lives will take it to the streets of Washington, D.C., New York City, and right here in Ossining, New York, to demand that their lives and safety become a priority. The collective voices for the March for Our Lives movement will be heard. School safety is not a political issue. There cannot be two sides to doing everything in our power to ensure the lives and futures of our children who are at risk of dying when they should be learning, playing, and growing. The mission and focus of March for Our Lives is to demand that a comprehensive and effective bill be immediately brought before Congress to address these gun issues. No special interest group, no political agenda is more critical than the timely passage of legislation to effectively address the gun violence issues that are rampant in our country. Every kid in this country now goes to school wondering if this day might be their last. We live in fear. It doesn't have to be this way. Change is coming, and it starts now. Inspired by and led by the kids who are our hope for the future. Their young voices will be heard. Stand with us today. Refuse to allow one more needless death. March for Our Lives.
I will now be reading the mission statement in Spanish. Ni uno más. No podemos permitir que a otro niño más se le dispare. No podemos permitir que a un maestro más tenga que tomar la decisión de hacerse frente a un asesino para proteger las vidas de sus estudiantes. No podemos permitir que otra familia más espere una llamada o mensaje que nunca llegue. Nuestros colegios no están a salvo. Nuestros hijos y maestros se están muriendo. Nuestra prioridad es salvar estas vidas. La Marcha por Nuestras Vidas fue creada, inspirada y dirigida por estudiantes a través de todo el país para que no peligren más vidas ni esperar a que alguien más tome medidas para detener la epidemia de tiroteos masivos que se ha vuelto demasiado familiar. En la trágica estela de las 17 vidas brutalmente perdidas en Florida, los políticos nos dicen que ahora no es el momento de hablar sobre el caso de armas. March for Our Lives cree que el momento es ahora. Hoy, el 24 de marzo, los niños y familias de Marcha por Nuestras Vidas están caminando en las calles de Washington, D.C. para exigir que sus vidas sean una prioridad. Las voces colectivas de Marcha por Nuestras Vidas van a ser escuchadas. Seguridad en la escuela no es una cuestión política. No puede existir dos lados que hacen todo lo posible para garantizar la vida y el futuro de los niños que están en riesgo de morir cuando deben estar aprendiendo, jugando y creciendo. La misión y el enfoque de la Marcha por Nuestras Vidas es exigir que un proyecto de ley completo y eficaz sea inmediatamente traído ante el Congreso para abordar estos problemas de armas. Ningún grupo de interés especial, ningún programa político es más importante que la oportuna aprobación de legislación para abordar efectivamente los problemas de violencia y de armas que proliferan en nuestro país. Todos los niños en este país ahora van a la escuela preguntándose si este día podría ser su último. Vivimos en el miedo. No tiene que ser de esta manera. El cambio está llegando y comienza ahora. inspirado y dirigido por los niños que son nuestra esperanza para el futuro. Apóyenos hoy. Neguémonos a permitir una muerte más. Marcha por nuestras vidas.
Now to continue on with our student speakers. Everyone here on this stage has written a beautiful speech for you guys to hear today. I'm really excited to hear them as well. I also would like to recognize our other student organizers who will not be speaking today, Caroline Reed and Darwin Arias. They did amazing work for this work, so here we go. Meta Pollock just received her acceptance letter to Lynn University. Carmen Shentrup was recently announced as a National Merit semifinalist. Alyssa Alaja was playing soccer for the girls varsity soccer team. Joaquin Oliver loves listening to rap music. Nicholas Dorek was scouted to swim for the University of Indianapolis. These are only 5 of the 17 lives slain last month. These were students, friends, family, acquaintances, and we should not let their names just be names in the news. Do not allow their names to become just a part of the school shooting statistic. Let their names become a part of the change. No one should be afraid to go to school and fear that their safety or the safety of their peers. The right to feel safe in a school environment should not be divided by partisan lines. I am here today to tell you we must unite under the fact that gun violence does not have a place in America. This isn't a matter of right or left, liberal or conservative. This is a matter of life or death. Everyone deserves to feel safe. Everyone deserves to live a full life. Let's unite and help make America a safer place for everyone. Thank you. So we will now have another speaker. No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. No guns. No NRA. Louder. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. No guns. No NRA. Louder. No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today.
Everybody put your signs up too.
No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. No guns. No NRA. Tell Congress we need our rights today. Next speaking will be John Hughes.
Sorry about that. My name is John Lawrence Hansley. I'm a director of High School. We, as Americans, have been given the great gift to disagree with each other. You and I can argue until the cows come home, not reach an agreement, and start arguing that next morning. That freedom is both beautiful and unique. But in this beauty to openly disagree, there comes division, especially regarding the reason we are brought here today. Isn't it great that we can disagree? Isn't it great that we can have people from the other side express their opinion? In a strange sense, it brings Americans together, doesn't it? Kind of like how we're gathered here today. E pluribus unum, and many one. There are many opinions in our country. In this march is an opportunity for many ideas to take one step towards a solution. What is right has no sign but its own. There is no conservative plan to solve the problem for music today. Neither is there a liberal plan. There's only the plan that unites us all. Whatever that plan may be, let's not let it fester into an example of identity politics. Let's not let this become a war within the bipartisan system. Both Republicans and Democrats are alike to agree that they want their child to feel safe when going to school, and that their top priority is to focus on their future, not how they can jeopardize. The problem that we face is we're changing. of you in the crowd, your presence here is evidence of your will to change the world around you. With our combined efforts, school shootings will be a distant memory. We won't have nightmares anymore of being in a school shooting. We won't have to remember the layout of an auditorium or a gymnasium and plan escape routes in our minds. We won't have to live in fear anymore. What I've said sticks with you. I hope that you can talk about it over dinner and maybe have it keep you up a few minutes tonight before you go to sleep. Let today mark when like-minded Americans from a variety of backgrounds figured out a problem that we all have in common and put it into action. E pluribus unum, out of many, one.
I'm Fitzsimmons from Croton, representing. Okay. Hello, I'm Quinn Simmons, and I'm from Croton, Hartman High School. After the Parkland shooting, I learned two things. I learned that change comes from within, inside libraries, coffee shops, or even throughout social media. Discussing and trading ideas is how people become more informed and how we can really change mindsets. I also realized that gun control must happen now. There is no more time to wait, hoping that the current administration will suddenly realize that people dying in mass shootings is a matter of importance. So often, we as people don't speak up because we think who will care, and if they do, they won't listen. But we must speak up. We must continue to have more rallies, walkouts, and marches. Voices and words and actions, they change things. We forget the effects they have had on history, however, they are the only things that have ever worked. We all have a voice and we can all use it. We can all work to fight against corrupt laws and we can all help the victims of those laws. We can all do something and we can all continue to change things. We are no longer the silent citizens, but the ones we have been waiting for. Thank you. No guns, no guns, no guns, no guns. Signs up, everybody. Guns, no guns, no guns, no guns, no guns, no guns, no guns. So Arlie Mejia will be next from Ossining. Hi, I'm Arlie Mejia from Ossining High School. No one deserves to die the way the 17. No one deserves to die the way 17 individuals in Parkland, Florida died. Only one can imagine the immeasurable pain that these families faced when they first heard the news of the lives taken during the shooting. Sorrow these parents underwent, realizing that the last time they spent with their child was their final time to comfort, support, and love their children. It's a hardship one truly wishes to never face. These students were in an institution designed to support their growth and education, a place to interact with their peers and their educators, an institution intended to provide students with comfort and reassurance of safety so that by the end of the day, they'll be safe and able to go home. Sadly, 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz, a former student, immersed in the experiences of troubling acts that would eventually get him expelled, was able to get his hands on a firearm legally due to the lack of regulations on gun control. We are to reassure, secure, and protect the lives of our future generation. I say major reform must be done, demanded regarding gun control, because no student should have to spend their time in school in fear of losing their lives. In a time that seems pretty hopeless, it's important to know that though things may seem drear, there is still hope for a better tomorrow and for a better future to assure the safety of students. The song of his, widely renowned
hip-hop artist Kendrick Lamar says, the one in front of the gun list forever, making the claim that though the loss of their lives is absolutely tragic, those who are taken through the means of unnecessary violence will always be remembered, respected, and honored more than those who inflict the violence in the first place. The memory of these victims that we lost will always be embedded in our hearts and through great strife. We will keep fighting to bring justice to those who have lost their lives to gun violence, as well as bring reform to the current state of the NRA.
Good afternoon to all. I'm sure every single person standing here has unfortunately been alive to witness either the Columbine shooting, the Sandy Hook shooting, and for the young ones, the Parkland shooting. Unfortunately, I was in 5th grade, 2012, during the Sandy Hook shooting. I happened to be 5 minutes away from the school. I remember coming home that night to my mother, us watching the news, being terrified for what happened next. I, as an innocent 12-year-old, told my mother, "Mom, this will never happen to me. This is something that happens once in a lifetime." Unfortunately, 1,600 mass shootings later, approximately 300 school shootings later, I no longer believe that. I should not have to worry on whether an active shooter will be in my classroom. I should worry about who's taking me to prom, when the next SAT date is. I should be worrying about my next English essay, not an active shooter. I don't want to walk into school and not be able to walk myself out the next day. We need to vote for legislation against this. Today I am expressing the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of my opinion. But although I'm not allowed to yell fire in a movie theater, but why is there no regulations on the Second Amendment? Thank you.
How do we feel about some more chanting right now? Yeah. Gun reform! 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 Make sure they hear you in DC. Reform! Gun reform! Gun reform! Gun reform! Gun reform! Gun reform! Gun reform! And now we will have Aya Abdallah, who is a wonderful freshman who will be speaking.
Hi, my name is Aya Abdallah and I'm a freshman at Ossining High School. It is so incredible and inspiring to see everyone here today, especially to see the students, student speakers, and student organizers involved in a movement to finally fix the growing issue of gun violence and mass shootings in America. The recent tragedy in Parkland has left us all shocked and saddened. It has also had an entirely different effect from other shootings. It has left us empowered and inspired. The students of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas have made incredible strides for gun reform and common sense gun laws. They have shown that ending gun violence will no longer be a movement of thoughts and prayers, because it's been shown that time and time again, thoughts and prayers do nothing to stop this, and we are tired of having to kind thoughts and comforting prayers rather than effective action. They've shown that thoughts and prayers are now in the past, and this movement is about activism and change, and we cannot let this message die out. We get stuck in an incredibly repetitive cycle after mass shootings. There's shock and sadness and grief immediately after the shooting, which is to be be expected. There are always people who will say it's too soon to talk about it in reference to gun control. But there are people who recognize that there is something wrong with what's happening and that we can do something to change it. These are the people who want to do something to change it. They become really passionate about it, even if it's just for a little bit. They advocate for gun control and they aren't afraid to use the power of their voice, especially when the opportunity is given. But then the fire that people once had essentially dies out. They start hearing less about this issue in the news. You see fewer posts about it. You hear less people talking about it. We lose most of the passion, anger, and interest that was driving us to talk and advocate for change. We grow tired of constantly fighting the uphill battle of gun reform in America, and we eventually forget. But that can't happen this time. Not when we're facing the movement, this movement, around the words never again. This cannot be an issue that just disappears from your mind after the marches and walkouts and interviews. This has to be something you keep caring about and keep talking about and keep fighting for. Nothing is going to happen if we only care about mass shootings right after they occur. Let the pain of the mothers and fathers who lost their children, of those who had to bury their best friends, of those who had their favorite teachers killed, resonate with you, not just today, but for the rest of your life. Let the heartache that these kids felt when they showed up to school and their classmates were missing empower you to advocate for change, not just today, but weeks, months, years after this. Do not let your death be in vain. If we want change to happen, we have to follow through. Don't just post about this on social media today. Post about it this coming fall when elections are happening. Don't just email your congressperson once. Keep emailing and calling them to let them know that this issue won't be dropped until we get change. Show our representatives that if they don't take this matter seriously, they can and will be replaced. Call out politicians allowing the safety of their citizens to be set aside in favor of money from the NRA. And most importantly, take this fire, this anger, and this passion to the polls and vote for candidates that have shown that they care about this issue and that they are going to work to solve it. One protest is not enough. One voice is not enough, but together we can make change happen. Thank you.
If you are not 18 yet, but you will be 18 by the November election, you can still pre-register to vote. My name is Lexi Rudley, and I'm emceeing this event. Thank you. We will now have yet again another speaker, but let's do some more chants. No.
So I came back.
Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Louder! Vote them out! 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 And now we have Corinna.
Any encouragement I can get.
Hello. I need to pick this up a little bit. Very true. Hi, I'm Karina Beamer. Okay. Is this good? Can it be heard? Oh God. Here we go. Hey, this is working now. Hi, I'm Karina Beamer. I'm a junior at Croton Hart High School. So I am a huge history nerd, and in 2 years, kind of, I'm gonna plan to. Oh my God, there goes my speech. I guess I'm done now. That's fun. Let me grab that. Okay. I know. This can never be done. So I plan to go to college, and I want to study to become a history teacher. And so I tend to really like American history. I don't know why. But the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave. As a nation, we are supposed to pride ourselves in being a country where we protect our citizens. We bleed democracy, we cry freedom, we are supposed to be for the people. The key phrase there, supposed to be. Founding Father John Dickinson wrote, "By uniting we stand, by dividing we fall." Our nation is founded on the very premise of being united. Yet when it comes to this issue, ensuring the safety of young students, we are divided. So who has fallen while our government stands by and watches our nation be divided? Innocent students. I can't speak today. More than 2,600 have been killed by guns since Columbine in 1999. There is nothing more important than coming together and convincing our government to stand against and end gun violence. I don't want to become a history teacher and have to teach a lesson to my future students about how kids just like them were being shot in schools and their government, our government, did nothing. Students of the future deserve to learn a better history than this. A history that we can write for them by creating change. Because this is not the history that I want to teach. Thank you.
Give it up for those speakers again. That's so cool. Again, thank you all for coming. We're going to do definitely some more chanting. We still have another hour of this amazing rally to go. So let's give it up. This is what democracy looks like. 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 Louder! Democracy looks like. This is what democracy. The politicians can't hear you. We will now have Diana Kennedy from Ossining High School give us a few words.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to be reading a short speech and then I'll be reading the translation in Spanish. I wake up every day with the same anxious feeling. I think, oh no, that scholarship deadline is quickly approaching. Or I have to perfect parallel parking or I'll never get my license. I thank God, please don't let me open my email to another college rejection. My future is constantly on my mind. What is farthest from my mind is the abrupt disruption of these mundane worries. I never think, if I go to school today, will I lose a friend? Or worse, will this be the last day that I have to worry about my future? This rally doesn't symbolize the polarization of our nation's politics. It symbolizes the end of having our futures erased. It symbolizes the beginning of the end to living in fear. Today we march for our lives. We march for our futures. But this movement cannot end here. We have to register to vote, to change the minds of our politicians, to make legislation that will protect us and our future children. I will now be reading the Spanish. La polarización de la política de nuestro país. Simboliza el cese de tener nuestros futuros borrados. Simboliza el principio del final de vivir en el miedo. Hoy estamos marchando por nuestras vidas. Estamos marchando por nuestros futuros. Pero este movimiento no puede acabar aquí. Tenemos que ir a votar, a cambiar la mente de nuestros políticos. Por favor, march for our lives.
Who's down to chant some more? Okay, is that a no or yes? What do we want?
I don't know.
Now! What do we want? When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Gun control!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Gun control!
When do we want it?
Now!
Bashir speak for us. She's an amazing speaker, so I hope you guys enjoy.
Lexi likes butter. Thank you all once again for coming out. I know today is cold and we're by the water, so it's very windy, but this goes to show that unity and you being here is what's going to make this change. So once again, thank you. A few days ago, my English teacher and I were talking about school shootings. Is this good? Better? Okay. She told me she had a friend who was teaching at Sandy Hook the day of the shooting that happened December 14th, 2012. My teacher told me her friend remembered so vividly what had happened that day. You would have thought it happened minutes ago. What you're about to hear is the same retelling of how my teacher's friend described that day. When you walked into Sandy Hook Elementary School, if you turned right, there was the main office. But if you turned left, there is my teacher's friend's classroom. Her lesson was stopped in the middle when a man burst through the doors of the school and immediately turned into the main office. She quickly ran to shut the lights off and ushered her what I believe were first grade students into a small bathroom inside their classroom, trying to dismiss the screams and shots firing from across the hallway. As she crammed that bathroom with her students, she dragged a bookshelf in front of the door, locking herself and her students inside. She was so flustered in the moment, she realized her phone, which very easily could have gone off, was across the room at her desk. But it was too late to retrieve it, as she feared it would expose her and her students. Now imagine you were this teacher, staring back in a single-person bathroom, full of young and little bright minds, knowing that should your phone go off and the shooter hear, it very well may be the last time you see them. Imagine yourself responding to your student asking, "What are those popping noises outside? And why is everyone shouting and crying?" And just as you're about to tell them that those aren't popping noises, those are shots being fired from a gun, you hear them You hear them go off again in the next room. Nothing separating you from them except a brick bathroom wall. Your students are too scared to even scream as you listen in terror to the crying and wailing of their neighbors, their playground buddies, their best friends, and the friends that they've yet to make. Every person in that bathroom came out unharmed and survived. And that wasn't with a teacher having a gun. That was with a teacher having common sense and caring about their students. And while yes, they walked out unharmed, they were harmed in a sense too. Once pure and innocent minds were now struck with fear and cruel memories of hate. That's something I think we've forgotten when discussing gun violence. Because not only does a bullet take life from those immediately affected, but innocence is taken from those who are secondarily affected as well. From all of us. We've gotten so caught up in this claim that regardless your political views, no child's life should be lost at the expense of a gun, which, yes, is most definitely true. But step back and look at what this is doing to the minds of children. Step back and look at how we are letting this warp the perception of American culture and society. are we taught our times tables so much as we are taught to strategically hide in corners of classrooms during lockdown drills. No longer are children across America only concerned about what they wear to school, but they fear, what if this isn't a drill? What if our school is next? What if the next time my father, my mother, or a loved one looks at me, but it's my shot corpse? That being said, doesn't it make sense that the American youth has decided to speak up? Even though we don't pay taxes and we don't vote, we inevitably are the future. So I ask you today not to leave with terror or fear in your hearts, but with pride. With certainty that your future is standing before you today. And we're standing strong. And we will continue to overcome the hate and oppression our nation faces from the day it was founded. We honor morals of growth and justice. We honor morals of taking tragedies like school shootings and turning them into movements for change. Your future stands before you today promising that yes, bad things do happen. Terrible things happen. But we do not let them perish our aspirations for a better world. And we will rise above this battle and many battles to come in the future together. For in unity there is strength. Thank you. Now I'd like to close this up. Can you guys all come up here with me? We'd now like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. This is a reminder to be the change that you wish to see in the world.
Vote them out! Vote them out!
Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! Vote them out! I want all of you to let your politicians know that they will be voted out this November if they do not, if they do accept NRA backing. It's absolutely disgusting that our politicians have to be corrupted like this. There's a saying that politicians don't care about kids because kids can't vote, but maybe they'll care about kids now that we're up here and that kids are dying in schools across the country for reason that we can't quite explain, that governments won't stand up against the NRA and say no to their backing and vote for laws that can save us all. March for our lives. From the NRA, we can take the power from the NRA. 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 We can take the power from the NRA.
Okay, I'd just like to take a moment to introduce one more time our amazing student speakers from today. I'm gonna call them up by name, and then I'm gonna get behind them, and anybody can take a picture of the group for me. I'd appreciate that. Okay, our amazing MC and student organizer from the JSA Ossining High School, Lexi Rudley. I'm telling you, these people have given me hope. John Hansley from Briarcliff High School. Quinn Simmons from Croton Harmon High School. Arlie Mejia from Ossining High School. Allie Rousseau, who broke my heart. Where is she? There she is. Also Ossining High School. Aya Abdallah from Ossining High School. Unbelievable. Karina Beamer, Croton Harmon High School. Diana Kennedy, the first person to get on board along with Arlie. Core organizer and general kick-ass girl. Alia Bashir, possibly our next president. We have my better half, Caroline Reed. I don't know where she is. Caroline, you there? She didn't speak, but she carries a big stick. And Darwin Arias, our art guy, who I don't know if he's on the stage or where he is because he. Oh, there you are. Darwin has been also just tremendously supportive, as has the community, town of Ossining, village of Ossining, Ossining Police Department, Ossining Parks Department. All of you guys. Special thanks to Lieutenant Dan Slater, my new text buddy. And listen, guys, seriously, you have to keep fighting this. Please, please, please sign up, keep moving. This cannot happen. It's never again. Never again. Never again. Thank you. Louder.
Never again! 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 Never again!
Okay, the last thing. The last thing I was going to say is please network amongst yourselves. Let's take the remaining time that we have together to plan the next actions and make them happen. Thank you all so much.